1. Let me tell you about this interesting 1968 Ford F350 I found on Craigslist for $5,800. This is one of those classic workhorses that's got some real character to it, powered by a 360 FE engine paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. Look, I'm going to be straight with you. This truck isn't perfect, but it's got good bones. The seller's being pretty transparent about its condition, which I really appreciate. The truck runs and stops well, and it's fundamentally solid, which is crucial for a vehicle of this age. It's a 2WD setup, and while the odometer shows 10,000 miles, it's broken, so we can't really know the true mileage. Now let's talk about what needs attention, because there are some issues to address. The truck needs new tires for better handling, there's a small floor patch required, and the seat needs reupholstering or replacement. The electrical system needs some love. There's either a $50 blinker switch issue or some wiring gremlins affecting the taillights. The current wiring setup works, but not great. Probably just needs a proper ground connection. There are also some minor maintenance items like a valve cover gasket that needs attention. The current owner's been honest about starting some DIY fixes, including working on the dash and wiring. For $5,800, you're getting a piece of American truck history that needs some TLC but isn't a total project car. These old F350s are getting harder to find, especially in running condition. If you're someone who appreciates vintage trucks and isn't afraid of some weekend wrenching, this could be a really rewarding purchase. Just remember, you're buying a 55-year-old truck that will need ongoing attention to keep it on the road. 2. Let me tell you about this beast of a 1979 Ford F250 that's up for grabs at $10,000. This isn't your average 70s F250. Someone's put some serious thought and money into making this thing a monster. Let's get real about what we're looking at here. The biggest talking point is that 460 big block engine, which wasn't originally offered in these trucks. It's been built up with a 750 Holley carb, Delta cam, and dove heads, sitting on the correct way-end intake manifold. That's some serious muscle right there. The seller's been pretty busy with upgrades. There's a $1,300 exhaust system, and they've replaced quite a few crucial components. New radiator, gas tank, power steering, alternator, high-performance ignition system, and even the window seals. Plus, you're getting a complete 4-inch lift kit, still in boxes, and it's rolling on 37-inch Humvee tires mounted on aluminum slot mags. Now let's be honest about the condition. There's surface rust present, and it needs paint. The odometer shows 150,000 miles, but is rolled over. However, being a dry truck is a huge plus, as it suggests the frame and body are likely solid underneath. What makes this deal even sweeter is the inclusion of a completely rebuilt Donna 60 rear axle, worth over $1,000. For the right person, someone who appreciates a built-up classic 4x4 and doesn't mind the cosmetic needs, this could be a solid buy. The mechanical investments alone seem to justify the asking price, especially in today's market. 3. We're looking at something truly special. A 1985 Dodge Ram Power Ram 154X4 that's asking $25,000. Now, let me tell you why this truck is genuinely interesting. This is a legitimate one-owner time capsule with just 13,779 original miles. That's incredibly rare for any vehicle from 1985, let alone a truck. It's got the desirable 4x4 configuration paired with a manual transmission, which is exactly what enthusiasts look for in these classic Dodges. The seller states it's in excellent condition with no accidents, and being a one-owner vehicle adds significant value to its authenticity. The bright red paint appears to be original, which is remarkable for a truck of this age. Now, about that $25,000 asking price, while it might seem high for a 1985 Dodge, we need to consider what we're looking at here. Original low-mileage trucks from this era are becoming increasingly rare and valuable. This isn't just a used truck, it's essentially a preserved piece of automotive history. However, I'd strongly recommend any potential buyer to verify the mileage documentation and inspect the truck thoroughly, as authenticity is crucial at this price point. If everything checks out, this could be a worthwhile investment for the right collector or enthusiast who appreciates these classic Dodge trucks in their purest form. Remember, finding another 1985 Power Ram with this kind of history and mileage, would be like finding a needle in a haystack. These trucks were typically worked hard and put away wet. This one appears to be a remarkable survivor. 4. Let's talk about this interesting 1961 Ford short bed that's currently listed for $24,500. This isn't your typical 61 Ford. It's been significantly modified and modernized. Let's be completely honest here. While the seller lists it in excellent condition, there are some important things to consider. First, it has a salvage title, which definitely impacts its value and should make any potential buyer dig deeper into its history. The odometer has rolled over, so the true mileage is unknown. Now onto the good stuff. This truck has received some serious upgrades. It's running a 351 Cleveland V8 engine, not original to the truck, paired with a C4 automatic transmission. The addition of power steering, power brakes with front discs, and AC makes this classic much more comfortable to drive than it was in 1961. The Volare torsion bar suspension is another modern touch that should improve the ride quality significantly. The truck features a power driver's seat, which is a nice luxury touch, and it's wearing a red paint job. These modifications essentially make it a Restomod, combining classic looks with modern drivability. At $24,500, you're paying for all these upgrades and modernizations, but the salvage title is a significant consideration that should factor into any negotiation. This isn't a numbers-matching collector's piece. It's built to be driven and enjoyed with modern conveniences. 5. We're looking at a really clean 1959 Chevy pickup that's asking $25,000. Let me tell you why this one's worth paying attention to. This is one of those California trucks that's managed to escape the rust demon that plagues so many classics, and that's a huge deal. The truck was restored about a decade ago, and from what the seller indicates, it's been maintained in excellent condition since then. We're looking at only about 5,000 miles on the drivetrain since that restoration, which means there's still plenty of life left in those rebuilt components. One of the smart modifications they've made is updating the rear-end gears for better drivability. That's a practical upgrade that makes these old trucks much more usable in today's traffic. The truck's rolling on 4 brand new tires with less than 100 miles on them, so that's one expense you won't have to worry about for a while. The seller's emphasis on no rust and the fact that it's always been a California truck is significant. These old Chevys are notorious for rust issues, so finding a clean one is increasingly rare. They claim it runs and drives fantastically, which is exactly what you want to hear about a restored classic. At $25,000, you're paying for a properly restored example of one of the most iconic American pickup designs ever made. These 59 Chevys have a distinctive style that's hard to beat, and finding one that's both restored and rust-free isn't easy. If everything checks out in person as described, this could be a solid investment for someone who appreciates these classic Chevys. 6. Let me tell you about this 1976 Chevrolet Suburban that's currently listed for $6,000. I'm going to be completely straight with you about this one because it's important to understand what you're looking at here. This is a single-owner Suburban with an interesting story. It belonged to the seller's father, who recently passed away. While that kind of ownership history is usually great, we need to be honest about its condition. The odometer shows 18,584 miles, but has rolled over, so the true mileage is unknown. Let's talk about the challenges up front. There's significant rust, and when a seller admits to significant rust, that's something to take very seriously on these old Suburbans. The engine runs but needs a rebuild, which isn't a small job on these vehicles. The seller has had Cooper Auto Repair in Bremerton look it over, so at least there's some professional assessment of its condition. On the positive side, it has leather seats that were redone in 1994, and it's been stored under cover. The vehicle was used mainly for hauling and short trips, which suggests it wasn't abused, but rather just aged with limited use. At $6,000, you're looking at a project vehicle that needs substantial work. This isn't a weekend fix-it job. You're looking at serious rust repair and an engine rebuild at minimum. However, these 76 Suburbans have a strong following, and if you're skilled with a wrench and have patience and a good budget for restoration, there could be potential here. 7. Let's talk about this interesting 1983 Ford F-250 that's up for grabs at $11,000. This is one of those rare single-family owned trucks that's managed to keep its original miles low at 71,000, which is pretty remarkable for a 40-year-old workhorse. Let's be real about what we're looking at here. It's powered by the 5.8L 351 engine, paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and 4x4 capability. A really desirable combination for these old Fords. The current owner has had it for 7 years and picked it up when it had under 40,000 miles, which helps verify the low mileage claim. They've done some important maintenance work, new fuel and brake lines, a tune-up, and new tires. That's good preventative maintenance that shows they've been taking care of it. However, let's be honest about the needs. It requires a main seal replacement and has a couple other minor things that need attention. The main seal isn't a deal breaker, but it's something you'll want to address sooner rather than later to prevent oil leaks. At $11,000, you're paying for the low mileage, single-family ownership, and the fact that these 80s F250S are becoming increasingly desirable. The 4x4 manual transmission combination is exactly what collectors and enthusiasts look for in these trucks. This isn't a perfect truck that needs nothing, but it appears to be a well-preserved example that's had some important maintenance done. Just budget for that main seal replacement and be prepared for the typical old truck issues that might pop up. These 80s Fords are known for their durability, and with the low miles and maintenance history, this could be a solid investment for the right buyer. 8. Let's talk about this 1971 Chevy K20 that's listed for $23,000. This is one of those heavy-duty 3/4-ton 4x4S that built Chevy's reputation for tough trucks, and this one's had some serious attention paid to it recently. Let's break down what we're looking at. It's powered by the reliable 350 V8 paired with an automatic transmission, a combination that's both dependable and easy to maintain. The odometer shows 122,000 miles but has rolled over, so we're not sure of the true mileage here. What's really impressive is the list of recent work done. The owner has basically gone through and refreshed a lot of crucial systems. New tires and wheels, alternator, voltage regulator, hoses, fuel line, thermostat, spark plugs, battery cables, transmission service, filter, fluid, and gasket, rear differential service, shocks, U-joints, and a new battery. That's a substantial amount of maintenance that shows someone's really cared about keeping this truck in good running order. The truck features power steering and front disc brakes, which make it much more manageable to drive than some of its manual steering counterparts from this era. At $23,000, you're paying for a well-maintained example of a classic K20. These early 70s Chevys have a strong following, and prices have been climbing. While it's not a cheap truck, the amount of recent maintenance work is significant, and finding these K20S in good condition is getting harder. 9. Let me tell you about this 1963 Chevy C10 that's up for grabs at $8,600. This is one of those honest old trucks that's showing its age but still has tons of potential. Let's be straight about what we're looking at here. It's a project, but not a basket case. The truck has some minor dents and dings, which is pretty normal for a 60-year-old pickup. The seller mentions very little rust, which is promising for a truck of this age, but as always, you'll want to verify that in person. Under the hood, there's a later model 350 V8 with a quadrajet carburetor. Not the original engine, but a reliable and easily serviceable combination. It's paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, which is a fun and desirable setup. The addition of power steering is a nice upgrade that makes this truck much more manageable in daily use. The bed needs new wood, but importantly, the metal underneath is reported to be solid. The odometer shows 64,654 miles, but the seller believes it's likely 164,654, which seems reasonable for a truck this age. At $8,600, you're looking at a solid starting point for a restoration project. These 63 C10S are becoming increasingly popular, and good candidates for restoration are getting harder to find. This one appears to be a running, driving example that needs some cosmetic attention, but isn't a complete rebuild. 10. Let's talk about this interesting package deal. A 1978 Chevy C20 with an 8-feet Jayco camper, all for $3,500. This is one of those honest working-class setups that could be perfect for someone looking to get into truck camping without breaking the bank. Let's be real about what we're looking at here. The truck's got 196,000 miles on it, which is a fair amount of wear, but it's equipped with the reliable combination of a 350 V8 and turbo 400 transmission, one of the most durable powertrains Chevy ever made. The seller states it runs great and drives well, which is promising. The Jayco camper is a nice bonus, and it's encouraging to hear it was redone this winter and has no leaks. That's a big deal for these older campers. The included jacks are also a valuable addition, as they're necessary for safely removing and installing the camper. At $3,500 for both the truck and camper, this is a pretty attractive deal in today's market. You're getting a heavy-duty 3-4-ton truck with a proven powertrain and a freshly redone camper. Sure, it's not going to win any beauty contests, and at this price point, you should expect some typical old truck issues, but the functionality seems to be there. This could be perfect for someone who wants a weekend camping setup or a work truck with occasional camping duties. Just remember to thoroughly check both the truck and camper in person, paying special attention to the camper's interior and mounting points, and the truck's frame and suspension components given its age and mileage. 11. Let's talk about this 1985 Chevrolet Silverado that's listed for $10,500. This one's got some interesting features and recent work that make it worth a look. Let's be honest about the condition. The paint needs attention, particularly on the hood and roof, while the sides and rear are still decent. But what's really interesting is what's under the hood. It's running a rebuilt 350 V8 that's been modified with a 3/4 cam, Edelbrock intake and carburetor, and headers. That combination should give this truck some nice extra power over stock. The odometer shows 54,000 miles, and being a second-owner vehicle with a clean title is definitely a plus. The truck's got some nice features for its age, including working power windows and door locks. The AC needs a compressor, which comes with the truck, so that's a project waiting to happen. Recent work is extensive. New tires, battery, starter, alternator, turn signal switch, and dashboard wiring. The flex plate and starter were just replaced 2 weeks ago. That's a significant amount of fresh parts that shows someone's been actively maintaining this truck. At $10,500, you're paying for a classic Silverado that's had some meaningful performance upgrades and recent maintenance. It's not perfect. You'll need to budget for paintwork and that AC compressor installation. But it's got good bones and some desirable modifications. 12. Let's talk about this 1971 Ford F-250 Ranger XLT Camper Special that's up for grabs for $10,000. This is one of those honest working classics that's got some interesting features worth discussing. First off, we're looking at a Washington State truck with only 3 owners, which is pretty good for a 50-plus-year-old vehicle. It's powered by the robust 390 V8 showing 75,000 miles, and it's got some nice upgrades including an Edelbrock carburetor, electronic ignition, and dual exhaust. Those Krager wheels add a perfect period-correct touch to the overall look. Let's be real here. While the seller lists it in excellent condition, they're honest enough to admit the truck is not perfect. It's been used as a work truck for the past decade, though not as a daily driver, so expect some honest wear and tear. The Ranger XLT Camper Special Trim was one of the more premium packages back in '71, and these are becoming increasingly desirable. At $10,000, you're getting a classic F-250 that's been maintained well enough to remain a reliable worker. The upgrades are practical ones that improve drivability and reliability, rather than just cosmetic add-ons. The fact that it's been a working truck rather than just a showpiece suggests it's mechanically sound. These old Fords had to earn their keep. 13. Let's talk about this stunning 1973 Chevy K5 Blazer that's listed for $29,500. This one's pretty special, and I'll tell you why. First off, this is a full convertible K5 with a removable hardtop included, one of the most desirable features of these early Blazers. The seller's description suggests this is a really well-sorted example with some significant recent updates. Let's break down what makes this one interesting. It's running its original engine that's been freshly rebuilt, paired with a 700 R4 4-speed automatic overdrive transmission. That's a smart upgrade that makes this classic much more highway-friendly than the original transmission. They've also added a new aluminum radiator and high-end electric fan, which should help keep things running cool much better than the stock setup. The body condition sounds impressive. They're claiming no rust at all, which is rare for these K5s. The paint is fairly recent, with just one small chip noted in the left fender. New bumpers have been installed, though they're not shown in the photos. And the interior is described as great, with lots of new parts included. At $29,500, you're paying for what appears to be a very well-maintained and thoughtfully upgraded K5. These early Blazers, especially rust-free examples with the full convertible option, have been steadily climbing in value. The combination of original engine, modern transmission, and careful maintenance makes this an attractive option for someone wanting a classic Blazer they can actually use and enjoy. 14. Let's talk about this 1969 Chevy C10 CST that's listed for $15,000. The CST, Custom Sport Truck package, makes this a more desirable variant of the already popular 69 C10. Let's be straight about what we're looking at here. It's powered by a 350 V8 paired with an automatic transmission, a classic and reliable combination. The truck comes with some nice features, including air conditioning and power steering, which make it much more enjoyable to drive in modern traffic. The seller mentions that the original radio, seat, and carpet are still in place, which is interesting for originality buffs. However, we should note that the odometer is broken, so there's no way to verify the actual mileage on this truck. That's something to keep in mind when evaluating its value. The seller states it drives great and can be used as a daily driver, which is promising, and they've installed a new battery. At $15,000, you're in the market for a CST C10 that appears to be a driver-quality example. These 69 C10s, especially CST models, have become increasingly popular in recent years, and prices have been climbing. The combination of the V8, automatic transmission, and comfort features like AC and power steering make it a practical classic that you could actually use regularly. 15. Let's talk about this interesting 1973 Chevy C10 stepside that's on the market for $15,000. This isn't your typical 73. It's got some significant modern upgrades that make it pretty special. First, let's address the elephant in the room. This truck's running an LS 6.0 motor, which is a serious upgrade from the original engine. That's paired with a rebuilt transmission, so you're getting a modern, reliable powertrain. The addition of headers and new exhaust means this thing probably sounds fantastic. The body is a bit of a hybrid. It's wearing an 81 front clip and doors, which is an interesting choice that changes the look from the original 73. The seller mentions it's a clean body with a nice bed, and being a Nevada truck suggests it should be relatively rust-free. It's sitting low on 15-inch rally wheels, which gives it that classic street truck stance. Some nice touches include the tilt column and quick-release steering wheel. However, let's be honest, it does need a new seat cover, so factor that into your plans. At $15,000, you're getting a modernized C10 stepside with some serious mechanical upgrades. The LS swap alone, if done properly, is worth a significant portion of that asking price. These C10s, especially stepsides, have been climbing in value, and finding one with an LS swap that's already sorted out could save you a lot of time and money compared to doing the swap yourself. 16. Let me tell you about this really interesting 1985 K5 Blazer that's listed for $17,500. This isn't your average K5. It's had some serious upgrades and attention paid to it. The biggest talking point here is the LS 5.3 swap, paired with a 4L60E transmission. That's a massive upgrade over the original drivetrain, bringing modern reliability and performance to this classic SUV. The seller mentions it runs super strong, and with this combination, I believe it. What's really impressive is the extensive list of recent work. They've addressed many of the common K5 issues: new tailgate window motor, a notorious problem area, upgraded Flowmaster exhaust, new dash bezel and instrument cluster, new steering gearbox, and updated window hardware. They've even installed a period-correct custom AutoSound radio to keep the vintage feel while providing modern functionality. The working AC is a huge plus. These older systems often need work, so having cold air is significant. It's sitting on 15-inch chrome rims with good tires, and being a Nevada truck suggests it should be relatively rust-free. At $17,500, you're getting a modernized K5 that's had a lot of the common issues already addressed. The LS swap alone, if done properly, represents a significant portion of that value. Being registered as a classic through 2025 in Nevada is also nice. These trucks are becoming increasingly collectible. 17. Let's talk about this 1978 GMC High Sierra 1500 4x4 that's listed for $4,000. I'm going to be completely straight with you about this one, because it's definitely a project truck that needs some attention. Let's be honest about what we're looking at here. This is an Arizona truck, which typically means less rust issues, but it needs work, and the seller's pretty upfront about that. The truck needs a hood and steering column, which are significant items to address. The odometer is broken, so there's no way to verify the actual mileage. Now, here's where it gets interesting. It comes with some valuable parts that aren't installed yet. A new 4-inch lift kit and 5 fairly new 35-inch tires on wagon wheels. Those parts alone represent a decent chunk of the asking price. The seller states it will run and has a clean title, but the way that's phrased suggests it might need some mechanical attention to be truly roadworthy. Being a High Sierra trim level means it was one of the more premium GMCs of its era, which could make it worth restoring. At $4,000, you're essentially buying a project truck with some valuable parts included. This isn't a truck you're going to drive home and start using immediately. It's going to need time, money, and effort to get it where it needs to be. However, if you're handy with tools and looking for a classic 4x4 project, the included lift kit and tires make this an interesting starting point. 18. Let's talk about this 1965 Ford F100 short bed that's listed for $25,000. I have to say, while the seller's description is pretty brief, and honestly could use some spell checking, there are some interesting points to consider here. The seller indicates it's had a lot of major work done. New motor, new transmission, new wheels, new tires, and a new interior. The odometer shows 600 miles, which likely indicates the mileage since the rebuild or restoration. It's wearing a red paint job and appears to be in excellent condition according to the listing. However, and I need to be straight with you here, the extremely brief description with multiple spelling errors, shotbed, interior, makes me a bit cautious about such a high asking price. At $25,000, you really want to see detailed documentation of all the work that's been done, especially regarding that new engine and transmission. These 65 F100s, especially short beds, are highly desirable trucks and can command strong prices when properly restored. The clean lines of the 65 model year make it one of the most sought-after versions of the F100. At $25,000, you're in the market for a well-restored F100, and while this one might be exactly that, you'll want much more information than what's provided in this brief description. These trucks are fantastic when done right, but at this price point, documentation and attention to detail are crucial. 19. Let me tell you about this interesting 1981 Chevy C20 with a Skaug service body that's listed for $7,900. This is one of those honest working trucks that's been set up right for serious use. Let's talk about what makes this truck special. First, it's got a Skaug service body, which is known for being top-tier quality in the industry. The body features diamond plate on the top boxes, bedsides, and tailgate, and importantly, all the locks are working, which isn't always the case with these older service bodies. Under the hood, you've got a rebuilt big block engine paired with a rebuilt transmission. That's some serious muscle for hauling. The truck's got dual gas tanks with new switchover valves and dash switch, which is a nice upgrade and practical for long workdays. The odometer shows 11,745 miles, but has rolled over, so true mileage is unknown. Some notable features include power steering, power brakes, intermittent wipers, and what the seller describes as a good heater. They've added LED backup lights and a heavy-duty hitch with a Prodigy smart brake controller. That's a quality setup for trailer work. The seller claims there's no rust, which is significant for a truck of this age, and the interior features matching blue upholstery in good condition. The multi-use rack on the service body adds versatility for different jobs. 20. Let's talk about this interesting 1938 Ford F1 that's listed for $27,500. Now, I need to point out something right away. There's actually a small error in the listing, since Ford didn't start the F-Series until 1948. So this is likely either a 1938 Ford pickup or a modified build with some year confusion. What we're looking at here is a hot-rodded classic Ford with some serious upgrades. The engine has been bored 30 over and features an RV cam and high-rise intake, suggesting this truck's got some real power under the hood. It's paired with a turbo 350 transmission, which is a reliable and popular automatic transmission choice for hot rods. Some key modern upgrades make this truck more usable. Front disc brakes for better stopping power, a huge safety upgrade over the original drums, and vintage-style AC that's reportedly blowing cold. That's a big plus for a classic vehicle. The odometer shows 12,756 miles, which is likely since the build or restoration. At $27,500 firm, you're paying for a classic Ford that's been modernized with some thoughtful upgrades. The combination of the hopped-up engine, modern transmission, disc brakes, and working AC makes this more of a driver than a museum piece.